I met Jake when I was 26, juggling night shifts at the hospital and weekend shifts at a coffee shop. He was a software engineer who had just quit his job to build something of his own. No money, no place of his own. Just a worn-out laptop and a pair of eyes that lit up every time he talked about his startup dreams. We started with quiet nights sitting on the floor, sharing instant noodles, mapping out our monthly budget while watching YouTube videos on how to save money. Jake used to say, "I don't need to be rich. I just want us to be together, and have enough so money never becomes the reason we fight." We shared everything, from our bank account to our budgeting app. I knew what he spent. He knew what I bought. Some months, we had barely $60 left. But we'd still go for a walk in the park and split one coffee between us. Back then, I honestly believed, if anything could survive the storms of life, it would be love built on honesty. 6 years passed. We had a small apartment in the suburbs, not fancy, but clean and warm. I worked night shifts at the hospital. Jake worked from home. We weren't well off, but we knew how to stretch every dollar. Never in my wildest thoughts did I imagine that the man who once promised, "I'll never let money come between us," would be the same man who secretly took everything, and never said a word. It all started, so quietly. I noticed Jake staying up later than usual. The pale blue light from his office flickered until 3 or 4 a.m. when I asked. He just shrugged and said, "Just a couple of small investment opportunities. I think I can make us a little extra." I smiled and believed him. Even though I was exhausted, I still made him tea and left it on his desk. I told myself, at least he's trying. For us. For our future. But then, the little signs started creeping in. Our joint savings account suddenly dipped. I opened the banking app. Our balance had dropped. Without any explanation. At first, it was just a few thousand. Then, almost all of it, $48, gone. The money we'd been saving for 6 years. The down payment for our dream home. Just vanished. I panicked. Jake deflected. When I confronted him, he just said, "You trust me, right? I'm doing this for us." That was the first time I felt like I was living with someone I didn't fully know anymore. One evening, while I was doing the dishes, Jake stepped outside to take a call. Through the cracked window, I heard fragments. "Tanked hard. But if we hold long-term it might bounce back, don't worry. Baby." My heart sank. Don't worry, baby? Who was he talking to, if not me? 2 weeks later, the letter arrived, from the bank. A formal notice about a margin loan backed by collateral. Borrower, Jacob S. Walker. Collateral, our joint savings account. Jake hadn't just bet on crypto. He'd bet on trust. And he'd gambled it all away. The house was pitch dark when I got home. Jake was still in his office. The cold blue glow of the monitor lit up his face, casting shadows that didn't look like the man I once knew. I placed the grocery bag on the kitchen counter. My fingers still clenched around the bank letter. Each step down the hallway felt heavy, like I was carrying the weight of a betrayal I hadn't been prepared for. Our wedding photos lined the wall, silent witnesses to everything unraveling. "Jake." My voice trembled, but I didn't let it break. "Is there something you want to tell me?" He turned slowly. His eyes were tired, but not surprised. Maybe he had known this moment would come. He just hadn't found the courage to start it himself. I held up the letter. "You used our savings to invest? Without telling me? Took out loans? Put our joint account as collateral? You did all of that, behind my back?" Jake sat there, still. Like a man on trial in a courtroom he built himself. No excuses. No justifications. Just silence. "Why?" I cried. "Did you think I was too weak to handle the truth? Or did you think I didn't deserve to know?" I didn't feel like his wife in that moment. I felt like a bystander, watching a life I thought we were writing together, turn into a story I was never told. "You once said you'd never let money come between us." I let out a bitter laugh that caught in my throat. "But you didn't need money to do that. All you needed was silence." Jake finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. Like a man drowning under the weight of his own guilt. "I was going to tell you. When I won. When the money came back. I clenched my fists so tightly my nails dug into my skin. You wanted to win? To prove you were smart? Or to buy back the trust you already broke? The air between us turned thick, like grief. That small office, where we once dreamed of kids, and second-hand couches, and morning coffees, now felt like the loneliest place in the world. I'm leaving. My voice was calm, quiet, final, not because you lost the money, but because you gambled me, and never even asked if I wanted to be part of the bet. I walked to the closet and pulled out my suitcase. Jake didn't stop me. He just sat there, his hands over his face. The same man who once promised to protect me from every storm, now crumbling under the one he created himself. And then, just as I reached for the doorknob, he broke. Don't go, please. His voice cracked, full of raw desperation. I don't owe you money. I owe you a life you deserved. And a truth I should have told you a long time ago. I stood still. His words didn't beg for forgiveness. They clawed at something deeper, reminding me that some loves don't die from betrayal. They die when honesty disappears. The room stayed dark, but for the first time in a long time, Jake had nothing left to hide. Just a man with empty hands and eyes filled with regret. I didn't leave that night. Not because I was weak, but because Jake's eyes stopped me. They didn't beg for forgiveness, they confessed. Raw and unfiltered. I was wrong. I kept it from you. But I'm ready to make it right, if you're still here. We didn't say much after that. We just sat on the floor together, surrounded by scattered bills, bank letters, and the quiet wreckage of a marriage cracking at the seams. I made 2 cups of cold tea, handed him one, my hands still trembling. The next morning, Jake closed his investment accounts. He called the bank, scheduled a debt repayment plan. No more hiding. No more buying time. No empty promises. And me? I picked up extra shifts at the hospital. Started working weekends. Every Sunday, we sat down and tracked every dollar. What came in? What went out? We didn't call it our money anymore. We called it our responsibility. It wasn't easy. There were nights Jake looked at himself like a stranger, ashamed, hollow. And I looked back, not at the proud husband I married, but at a man trying, step by step, to become one again. Once, he said, you stayed, even when you had every reason to leave. So every dollar I pay back, it's not just to the bank. It's to the trust you gave me, a second time. 3 years. No miracle. No overnight comeback. Just a broken marriage that didn't shatter. And 2 people, walking slowly, but walking it together. 3 years later, on a quiet autumn afternoon, I was cleaning the windows of our tiny apartment when I saw Jake standing under the porch, quiet, still, holding a stack of papers in his hand. Receipts. The final payment on our debt had just been made. It wasn't a large sum, but for us, it was a milestone. Jake walked inside, placed the papers on the table, and looked at me. He didn't say a word. And neither did I. We just looked at each other. For the first time in years, there was nothing left to hide. No more, I've got it handled. No more, don't worry about it. No more bank emails that showed up in my inbox after the damage had been done. Now, in this kitchen, lit by soft evening light, there was peace. Not the kind you buy. The kind you earn. With tears, patience, and countless sleepless nights spent rebuilding trust that once crumbled in silence. We weren't rich, but we understood every dollar we had. And more importantly, I knew that if we ever lost it all again, at least this time, we'd face it together. Because some debts don't show up on a statement. They grow in the quiet corners of trust, each time silence replaces honesty. Money doesn't kill a marriage, but secrecy can. So if you're standing at that fork in the road, tell the truth now. Don't wait until it's convenient. No profit is worth more than transparency. And if the person you love chooses to stay, even after knowing everything you've done, don't call it luck. Call it what it is. A loan. From their heart to yours. And you repay it with every act of tenderness for the rest of your life.